medical. Yeah, so this continuity of commit division. Puna Maitri Niputra, since desire and love are tied so closely together, no disengagement is possible, and the result is an endless succession of the birth of parents, children, and grandchildren. It comes mainly from sexual desire, which is stimulated by love. So that's understandable, right? Because of love, it ties everything down here, right? From one lifetime to others. Uh, Last Sunday, I saw a short video clips about a young girl. She got accident and she was in coma, and her boyfriend loved her so much that he visits her almost every day. And but 7 months later, her parents gave up on her, and they decided to cut off the life support. But this young man, her boyfriend, uh, asked for one day for him to talk before they took out the life support. And yes, he did talk to her, and somehow on the day that they're supposed to take the life support out, he sensed her hand moving, and later on, her parents recognized us, and they provide the life support for her again, and later on, she came back to life because of love. Mm, yeah, you heard about this similar story, right? No.
I've heard of stories similar, but not that particular one. The general idea of someone responding while they're in a coma to someone who they have a deep connection with.
Yeah. It's so powerful. Love is so powerful mm, to bring back people alive with that type of love, with that type of affection. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Mm. Yeah. Can you read that, please?
Since passion cannot be destroyed, living beings born from wombs, eggs, humidity, and by transformation tend to use their strength to kill each other for food. This comes mainly from their passion for killing.
Mm.
Hmm. Yeah, that idea of a passion for killing. We certainly see um, like the idea of a passion for killing initially seems foreign, but then just the other day, Lisa was picking up Samaya, and there's a little boy playing with a centipede. So at the school, and he had it in his hands, and he was kind of twisting it around, and it was biting him, or it had bit him a bunch. So he's trying to be more careful. And she was pretty convinced that he was. You could see like he was going to play with that until he killed it, and it was entertaining. Um, and she convinced him not to. She convinced him to let it go. But that's something that's not uncommon for little kids. When I was a little kid, I a few times, not a lot, but a few times I'd separate lightning bugs from the glow thing on the rest of their body. Not really thinking about it as like a thing, not really considering the insect. That's not quite a passion for killing. Um, that's the closest way I can relate to it. But there certainly are, I think there are people who are more related to that sort of like they get some sort of thrill from like hunters. I
Mm.
think that's a good example of it, where not just is it not anything, it's not like neutral, like they're not thinking about the animal, they're actually enjoying the act of killing in
Mm-hmm.
that way. Um, so Yeah,
You
it's interesting that that even exists.
in California, and they have the shooting bird uh, games. So they buy the bird and release them so that they can shoot them.
Hmm.
You know that, right? Right.
Yeah.
Or even in here in this area, especially in the rural area, if the farmers they have, let's say, 50 acre of lands and more than that, they can make what you call hunting route, right? They keep the deers or some kind of wild animals within their farms, right? And they guarantee for the hunter that they can get any kind of wild animals they can hunt to, and of course the hunter would need to pay.
Hmm.
And again, as from time to times, some people ask my permission to go to my land, especially in Corden, to do the hunting.
Oh,
Uh,
not Buddhists.
yeah, they're not Buddhists. Definitely, they're not
Just
Buddhists.
other people who know you have the land. They ask if they can hunt on it.
And even they want to rent out, right? Rent out for monthly. They can pay monthly rent to hunt.
Yeah,
That's,
they don't know who they're talking to.
you know, if we kill, if we really for money, yeah, definitely we can get the money, but no way for us to do that way to harm the animals inside our boundary.
Mhm.
That's why during the hunting season, many deers run around our properties in cordon. Yeah. Here, I think here the top power up and the second power up here. One is stimulated by love. One is has a passion of love. Another one is passion of killing. So I think it's just like life, right? We like and dislike. We love someone, dislike someone. It's just like what they call the survivor skill, right? We attach to someone else that we love so much, or we don't like something else that we want to kill, harm, or delete them from our life. That's what I think. That's what these two power up are about. It makes sense.
Mhm.
It's have a passion of love and passion of killing in opposite way. It's like anger and attachment.
And in the case of the hunter, it doesn't even seem to be like the hunter's not like not angry at the deer. Like the deer, they've never met the deer before. The deer never hurt him or anything. It's like they just love the idea of being able to kill the deer and maybe just to demonstrate their ability to shoot a like to do something that takes some skill. But they could just shoot a target and demonstrate their skill. So like actually getting satisfaction from just from depriving another thing of life because they don't even need it for food.
They just get the head of the deer or the fish as trophy.
Mm-hmm.
You could recognize the killing spirit, right? The killing karma when they put the deer head around the house, right? Mm. Yeah, it's just uh, yeah, it's just so negative when we walk into that type of house. But for them, they can they enjoy. Yeah, like you say, they don't have any kind of hatred toward those animals, but that's their prize, that's their trophies, right? They proud of their trophies that they kill those animals for fun, and they can get those animals anyway. Because that's what the karma is about. Yeah. Oh, right here. This is very interesting. So if a man kill a sheep to eat its meat, the sheep will be born as a human beings, and the man after his death will be born a sheep to to repay his former debt. Thus, living beings of 10 states of birth devour each other and so form evil karma which will have no end. This comes mainly from the passion for stealing. I don't know you know the story. There's one Zen master. He was invited to attend the wedding ceremony. You heard about that story yet?
I'm not from what you've said so far.
Yes. So when he went to that house, and he said, "Well, the broom was the grandson of the bride, because
Oh, okay. Reincarnation. Yeah.
before the grandmother passed away, she hold the hand of her grandson, and she said, 'I love this grandson so much.' That's why grandmaster say that grandmom said, 'Come back as the bride.'"
Mm-hmm.
And when he went to the kitchen and saw that all kind of animal were slaughtered, like the chicken, the cow, and so forth. So he point out to those meat within the pot. He say that these are the past relatives of the broom, and the current relatives, and his current relatives were the animal in the past. That's why they came back, feed them up.
Mm-hmm.
Too funny, If you have that kind of second power, second eyes, how could you consume the meat?
Yeah.
There's no way.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no way. So that's why here is yeah, we as long as we consume the meat, as long as we consume the flesh of animals, so they will come back to get us.
It makes it so surprising that, even some like that it's so common in the Tibetan tradition to consume meat for different monks when there's such clear, discussion of it. Good night, Samaya. Night.
She go to sleep.
Yeah.
Here's the skill. So Tibet Tibet is located in the high plateau, the core area, so they cannot plant much vegetables. That's why they have no choice except to consume the flesh of animals, and they get used of that. So I got this type of understanding and even first-hand experience with Tibetan communities when I was in India for 9 months. I stay among them. Whenever I walk into the Tibetan temple or monastery, they smell so terribly for me because many years I stay in the pure temple, right? We didn't eat any kind of meat at all. But now, when they went into their temple or monastery, you can hear the smell of the animals.
Yeah, it's kind of that just the habit because they're out of the situation where they need to rely on meat, but the habit is maintained.
And they say that any kind of meal without meat is not delicious.
Mm.
That's why they get used of that. Even they come to India and there's plenty of vegetable are available for them to buy, but they get used to eating meat. And that's why it's even some Tibetan followers, especially the Westerners, they criticize Tibetan tradition that even they mention about compassion, but when talking about the eating style, they could not skip that. They could not restrain from consuming flesh of animals.
Yeah, I mean, if they're embracing the Mahayana and they read this, it seems like that should at least make them very uneasy
Mhm.
about eating it, and they should be gradually trying to decrease it and stop it, if not stop it right away.
Mhm.
Um,
But I heard that many red master, the higher level achievement, awakening, they have the less for them to consume the meat.
Mm,
Mm.
that
Okay.
makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Please.
Due to the causes as you owe me my life and I pay my debt, living beings are subject to birth and death for hundreds and thousands of eons. Due to such causes as you treasure my heart, I love your beauty, they continue to be tied to each other for hundreds and thousands of kalpas. Therefore, the basic causing of continuous karmic retribution are three: killing, stealing, and carnality. So we talked, the previous two paragraphs addressed the killing and stealing, and then this one, the carnality, meaning my understanding of carnality, it's about being in the physical form and the dynamics that go along with the physical form. Because for my body to be here, my parents had to have had intercourse, and for there to be future generations of humans, there need to be more babies. So just with the physical human form comes with this momentum towards bonding and having children. And if we are just kind of going with the default and going with say those basic desires, then that's a cause for this cycle of reincarnation, of birth and death. And even something that can appear beautiful, like love, but which in essence is a form of attachment that can shadow over the wholeness of the pure nature, the completeness of our nature.
Yeah. It say that uh, for the you can say the soul or this consciousness before they enter the wombs of the mothers, if the male, if this the soul or that consciousness is the male one, it will attach to the mothers. If it's the female one, is I will attach to the fathers. On the opposite side. So that's why it could enter the wombs of the mothers. At that moment, the moment that the parents were having sexual intercourse. You heard about this before?
Yes, Tikal Fap went over the Bardo realm.
Mm-hmm.
So we spent a while on that whole dynamic of how that happens.
About in medical field, is it in line with medical field?
Well, Freud. So one thing that was in line was Freud's view of the Oedipus cycle, where the other part that Tikal Fap taught us was, so if a male, someone who's going to become a male, is drawn towards the woman when they're witnessing from their subtle body in the Bardo realm, when they witness the intercourse and they're drawn towards the female, they become a male, but then they dislike the father. They have some sort of aversion to the father. And in the Oedipus cycle that Freud described, it's this desire for that is supposedly within every person to you could say, marry their opposite sex parent and kill their same sex parent, or sort of dominate them, or decrease their influence or overcome them. And there's the Greek myth of Oedipus, who receives the prophecy that he's going to kill his father and marry his mother. So he leaves home to try to avoid that. But in his act of leaving home, he actually sets out on the path that ensures that will happen, because he was adopted. So who he thought was his mother and father weren't actually his mother and father. So Freud called it the Oedipus cycle because of that. But it does, interestingly, that matches with that one part of that concept of being attached, drawn towards the mother when he reincarnates as a male and dislikes the father. or vice versa, being drawn towards the male, one incarnates as a female and dislikes the mother. That matches that idea. But so medically, what determines gender is the 23rd chromosome.
Mm-hmm.
So on the 23rd chromosome, females receive two X's, X chromosomes, one from their mother, one from their father. And then males receive an X chromosome from the mother and a Y chromosome from the father. So it just depends which sperm gets to fertilize the egg. Does the sperm have a Y chromosome for the 23rd chromosome, or does it have an X chromosome? And then that determines the gender. And Y chromosome sperm swim faster. X chromosome sperm live longer. So, and then they kind of work together. Like different sperm have different types of roles. Some sperm are never going to fertilize. They're not going to make it, but they're going to like prepare the way and do things that help the ones that can make it.
And I don't know much about in medical field, but in Buddhist view, from the time that the mothers was pregnant until the time that she give birth to the child, right? She can change the gender of the child. She can mold the child in the way that she wants to, mentally and physically. Like so, whichever thing she consume, right? Whichever thing she take into her body will affect directly to the unborn child, right? In the fetus, right? And whichever thing they think about, whichever thing the mother think about, will affect directly to the unborn child, right? So I witnessed not many, but some Vietnamese Buddhist lady when they were pregnant, they pray continuously to Buddha, Bodhisattva, the Desire Sutra, and so forth until they give birth to the child. And most of the time, they're so beautiful and so handsome. Did they tell you the story that two American couples they went to my master Xuan Hoa? Did yes?
Yes,
Right.
yes.
For the son, and they did. And the son, I met them. They're so handsome. What do you think? I think somehow there's some kind of connection between medical field and the spirituality there, right?
Well, yeah, in like the extreme example, if a mother, well, even prior to conception, if a father drinks a lot of alcohol, there's risks to the baby. They can have facial deformities because of it. And of course, like if the mother drinks alcohol or smokes cigarettes, there are these risks to the baby. So that's a kind of extreme. Well, yeah, obviously that would have an effect. But you can have, women go into premature labor because of stress.
Yes.
So we have these clues that suggest that, yeah, and experientially, I think even outside of the medical field, just Western collective experience, everybody gets the sense that it's best for the mother to have a kind of peaceful, easy time. But as far as like being able to change the gender after conception, there are no cases in medical literature that I'm aware of. Not to say that it would be impossible, because we don't know what we don't know, and we're still discovering new things all of the time. So maybe, but I think the forming of the child and like their features are certainly going to be influenced by the state of the mother.
Yeah.
And like what she eats, yeah, and her activity, all that.
So there's many YouTube video information out there on internet mention that, for example, why the mothers was pregnant. Let's say she like to listen some type of music, right? right? And when the child was born, somehow that child like that type of music too, because they get used of hearing that kind of music, and vice versa. Oh, you know the story of the Kumarajiva? You know that story? The story that when his mother carried him, she could speak Sanskrit. She could speak most of the strange languages that she did not learn before.
It rings a bell. Like I remember as you say it, not
Yeah,
just the name, but that she could speak different languages. And then once she gave birth to him, didn't she couldn't do it anymore.
because of him. And even for Sariputra too. Sariputra, when his mom carried him, his mom so smart that even his uncle could not debate or defeat her. That's why his uncle took off. He knew that not his sister, but his nephew, the one that was inside uh, his um his sister womb. That's make her so smart. So both way, the child, unborn child, have some kind of effect, some kind of influence on the mothers, and vice versa. The mother have some kind of influence on the child. That's why sometimes I think in medical field, you know, right? Sometimes when the woman somehow before the pregnancy, they could eat anything, but when ever they were pregnant, somehow they love to eat certain type of food. They love to watch certain type of movie or listen certain type of music, probably because of the unborn child influence on her thought, on her thinking, on her appetite, and so forth, right?
Hmm.
Yeah. So in the West, so do they have some kind of books that talk about the relationship between unborn child and the mothers that way in the medical field? They mention it.
Um, medically, not in like medical school, beyond like medications, drugs, and those sorts of effects. Anything that comes out as a really discrete disease. Um, the more subtle stuff is not addressed.
So
Uh,
they don't have any book that talk about the mutual effect between the mothers and unborn child.
not medically. There's definitely like spiritual books that discuss that,
Mm.
but nothing that's taught within medical schools, or like OBGYNs aren't gonna learn that. People may feel that, and they may share it with their patients that there's some effect, but I don't think most OBGYNs do.
Really, they don't have that kind of books, that kind of information for the people to recognize the mutual effect of both the mothers and the unborn child. Huh? It's so strange.
Yeah, not medically.
Mm.
Mm-mm.
Mm.
Like we have in-depth, step by step, very detailed descriptions of going from the single-celled state
Mm-hmm.
through the different differentiations, and like how, on a cellular level, what's happening. And it's really mapped out, like how one effect becomes the cause for the next level of development or differentiation. And so you can see how cells differentiate and why they take on the forms they do, given the like the metabolism, given the effects of metabolism and the requirements of metabolism, and like the relationships between the cells. It's something I've actually been reading about, like detailed embryology from they call it's like from a field, like a viewpoint of metabolic fields. And so we have that sort of thing, like really detailed, but not the sort of consciousness effects.
But I think it's just logical, right? I think that they still have some kind of information out there. some doctor advise the mothers to consume some type of food, right? That may keep the unborn child being healthy, right?
Yeah, dietary stuff. We'd learn about dietary stuff, absolutely. But it's not really about consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
Like anything, any substance, a physical substance that we can say this is good or this is bad. Um, good foods are encouraged, but in like not having stress, that's talked about because like excess stress can lead to a lot of excess stress and strain can lead to a miscarriage. We know that. But there's not like, stress can have your baby be less attractive.
Oh,
I've never heard any medical professional mention that ever or read anything in a book, um, a medical book that says that.
yeah, that's why somehow it say that the mother need to teach mm, the child not the time that she gave birth to him or her, but the time that she carry him or her there.
Mm.
Right? So step by step, uh, I think I read some story or watched some video clips that talk about the pregnant people. They read the story for their unborn child, right? They read the story. It's the effect to their
Oh
unborn.
yeah, yeah. Or they'll play music.
Yeah, listen some kind of music. Uh-huh.
Yeah, and that has an effect. Like, but again, music, words, like those are kind of they're like physical things in a sense that we can measure the sound waves and the frequencies. Whereas when it comes to like intentions and like mind state,
Mhm.
um, we get it. There's definitely a sense that it's better to be relaxed and calm and have a loving environment. But it's more about like life, like miscarriage or not about more subtle outcomes for children. But music is, I think, has been shown to improve IQs.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, the diet, the music, and probably they focus more on the tangible object, right? Not much
Yes.
intangible one, and then the spiritual realm, in the mentality, how
Hmm.
to train the unborn child in the healthy way, in the wonderful way, and so forth, right? And I think probably you may think about that. You may write some kind of this book about so that you can enlighten people. Um, and that's why for me, whenever I see the Buddhist people, especially the lady who are pregnant, I would tell them be careful. They need to keep them stay of mind in peace and calmness. Otherwise, it will affect to the unborn child tremendously, and even the father too. During those 9 months of pregnancy, or carrying the unborn child, so the fathers or the husband need to be careful not to trigger any strong emotion. I mean, negative strong emotion for his wife because it affects directly to the unborn child, and of course it may affect to the whole life, affect to their whole life. So every parents want to have a healthy, strong, smart, intelligent, and so forth child, not the weak one, not the unintelligent one. But that's why those periods of time, the 9 months pregnancy is so critical,
Hmm.
and that's why I think that's your job. Can write more about that to advise them because they recognize they recognize your credential as a doctor. Yeah, and the field.
And just it'd be cool if I had more experience with like stories, because I will work with pregnant women doing treatment, and I will even get to meet their babies later too. Um, so, but I don't then get to see the other end too. I don't see as much of the women who uh, aren't taking care. So I don't have as the comparison for the negative. Um, but it certainly would be something people were interested in. I mean, I know Lisa felt amazing during her pregnancy. She never got sick. She never had like low energy. She never had pain or felt bad. She loved it. She thought it was pretty great. And then Samaya is, is great and fun and pretty easy to raise. So we kind of have that experience firsthand. In medicine, we're trained to look at statistics, and we need like uh, randomized, controlled, double-blind studies with at least 30 people
Mm.
before we can really feel like we're on solid ground with some sort of conclusion. Even when it feels right and we have the experience in our life that it's right, in order to like bring it to other medical professionals, we have to, for people to listen, we have to have that. For people who aren't doctors, man, people who aren't doctors, a lot of them need very little to believe something. Some of my patients, the stuff they'll believe and the people they'll believe it from is is astounding. And sometimes I have trouble like getting them to question it. When it's like, no, I have medical training. You trust me, right? You're coming to me. You're paying me for this. This other person, what's their training like? What in I have to be careful about that because sometimes people like the person who told them something, and it just may be like completely wrong, but because they like the person, they may protect that information and get upset if I question it. Um, so yeah, I mean, I haven't I haven't yet had time in my life where I could like sit and write something because I've wanted to. I have ideas of fiction books. Like I would really like that, but I feel like I need like a clear slate. I have trouble kind of building it into my life because I have so many things that I'm doing and that I want to do.
Again, I think most of the book out there, especially in America, talk more about uh, how to be careful with the diet, right? Uh, how to enjoy music, movie, and so forth. But they don't talk much about the mentality aspects of the mind, right? It may affect directly to the unborn child. That I think that's the lack of information that people need to have that. And then right, when like you say, when the mother is stressed out so much, right, she may miscarriage. She may have that miscarriage to the unborn child. It is if they have the healthy mind, right, positive mind, optimistic mind, right, it's much easier for them to carry that unborn child, and when they get birth, they be healthy, like you say, like Samaya, your daughter, right? So it's I think that's what they need now. They need this kind of information now. Otherwise, they would not know. They just think much about the physical form, this physical body, not much.
Mm-hmm.
They don't recognize the connection between the physical body, mentality, and spirituality.
And
That's
it
what.
would be a good doorway into practice towards meditation
That's
because they have there's a motivation, there's an incentive, there's a seed of compassion for their child. Yeah.
the chum unborn child may be more compassionate, more understandable, easygoing, and so forth. Doing that type of pregnancy, the mother could have like an influence on that unborn child, and that's what in the West is lack of this kind of information there.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay, so time is up. All right, so let me